What's the big news around the NFL? Shedeur and the Titans canceling their workout? That feels like that's the big news. A couple retirements. What is the big NFL news of the day here, Rap Sheet?
It kind of feels like the Shedeur thing, right? So obviously on Friday, Colorado had its showcase, not a pro day, but a showcase, which
it was awesome. I think
it was pretty awesome. I would agree with that.
Dion yelling at scouts. Dion yelling at scouts, telling them, "Hey, you don't tell my guys how to run 40s." Okay, you just got here. Get the hell out of the way. I think Shedeur did a great job.
The conversation shifted in a way few people expected. It wasn't loud or theatrical, it was deliberate. The tone coming out of that ESPN discussion signaled that something had changed. For the first time, the noise surrounding Cleveland, the endless tug-of-war between local narratives and on-field reality, was addressed clearly, and in a way that couldn't be brushed aside.
ESPN talks about Shedeur Sanders, turns heads of what they had to say when it comes to Shedeur Sanders, and they was talking about majority of the Cleveland media. You don't know what to believe. They saying this, they saying that, they pushing their agenda, but we all know what we see on the field. Shedeur Sanders is a baller. You hear me? Now, Shedeur Sanders didn't get the reps.
What stood out wasn't hype or promotion, it was hesitation. And when hesitation comes from voices that usually stay firmly planted, it says everything about the situation surrounding Shedeur Sanders. Cleveland has been flooded with conflicting messaging for months. One moment the quarterback room is settled, the next it's suddenly wide open.
But first things first, playing quarterback in the NFL. One of the things that I've really been paying attention to with Shedeur Sanders, because really what has to, and it comes from listening to people try to compare Shedeur and say, you got the haters out there who are saying, Shedeur's not it, he's not, and you got people like me saying, you're not looking at the big picture, you're not looking at the whole thing, or
reports clash, narratives shift, and clarity keeps slipping just out of reach. Opinions get packaged as facts, and fans are left trying to decode which version of the truth fits the moment. What came through clearly in that discussion was an acknowledgement of the confusion, not from outsiders speculating, but from people who understand how media ecosystems actually work. Especially in a market like Cleveland, where desperation and impatience don't just shape coverage, they drive it.
What about it? Tell me about this content-driven world where we all hear everything everybody says. What's this? What's that? Who are you making happy? What things are you leaving out of the conversation just purposefully because of might be an easier landing of the plane? I mean, there's a lot of shit going on right now in reporting as a whole, but certainly in the biggest stories like Shedeur in Cleveland.
I just gave Shedeur as an example. It could be any of the things.
No, but
that's
a great example. That's a great example. That is a great example.
Especially in Cleveland, because we haven't really cared about anybody talking or what they say in Cleveland, people watching the game.
But the reality is simple. Shedeur Sanders didn't walk into a clean situation. He didn't get the luxury of a full offseason as the unquestioned starter. He didn't get preseason reps built around his strengths. He didn't get a stable offensive line or a coaching staff fully committed to his development. What he got instead was opportunity through chaos.
There's a lot on Travis Hunter, and I want to get to that in a second, because him deciding to run routes but not doing DB drills is interesting, but hold that for 1 second. The Shedeur Sanders look good, and if you're someone who wants to draft him at 2 or 3 or early, you saw enough where you're like, all right, like obviously the talent is there, the arm strength is, I don't know who said he couldn't throw deep. They were all angry about somebody saying that. I've not yet found the culprit of such accusations, but he has proved that is not.
When that opportunity arrived, it wasn't gradual, it was immediate, high pressure, and unforgiving. Yet what's on tape can't be ignored: the throws, the command, the poise. Even more telling is the response from teammates. Players feed off confidence and belief. When a quarterback steps into the huddle with certainty, it changes how everyone else moves, something Cleveland hasn't seen consistently in years. The most revealing part of the conversation wasn't praise, it was hesitation. An acknowledgement that no one inside the building has fully declared the future, even as performance trends upward. That gap between production and commitment is where tension lives, and where media narratives begin to bend. Local media faces a delicate balance. When the fan base leans one way, pressure mounts. Do you report what's really happening behind closed doors, even if it contradicts what fans see on Sundays? Or do you lean into opinion, knowing it resonates louder? Cleveland is a perfect storm for this dynamic. Years of losing have stripped patience away. Every decision feels final. Every quarterback feels like the last chance.
Shedeur Sanders earlier today talking about if he feels like a long-term commitment from the Browns is there. Again, everyone says Shedeur is one way, and then you hear the kid talk, and he seems to hit all the right noise. Like the Dylan Gabriel thing yesterday, where Dylan Gabriel gets booed on Sunday going in for Shedeur, and everyone acts like it's his whole to-do, and then Shedeur's like, nah, I feel bad, like I put him in a bad situation.
Yeah, which it wasn't odd.
What makes Shedeur Sanders' situation even more complex is that he's not just another young quarterback, he's been under scrutiny his entire life. Expectations didn't start in the NFL, they followed him through every level. You see it in how he handles post-game questions, absorbs criticism, and carries himself when things aren't perfect. No panic. No deflection. Just accountability and calm. That matters because Cleveland doesn't ask easy questions. Every press conference is a referendum. Fourth down calls are dissected. Play calls become moral debates. Quarterbacks are expected to answer for everything, whether it's in their control or not. Navigating that environment without unraveling isn't something you teach overnight. On the field, the challenges are obvious. The offensive line has been a revolving door. Protection collapses early. Pockets break down before routes develop. No quarterback thrives under those conditions, especially without a full offseason rhythm. Yet within the chaos, flashes appear, not just throws, but effort, blocking downfield, competing on broken plays, executing the small things that don't make highlight reels but earn locker room respect. And that's where the conversation quietly shifted. It stopped being about potential and started being about reality. When analysts highlight effort, leadership moments, and composure under pressure, they're acknowledging something deeper than stats. They're acknowledging legitimacy.
And then you see Shedeur, and you realize, like, this guy is built to be an NFL quarterback. Now, the biggest thing, though, that Shedeur has been doing week to week, as the maturation process continues, the biggest thing that he's doing is he's almost reinventing himself week to week. And why is that important? Well, it's because to be successful in the NFL, you almost have to reinvent yourself week to week. But
the frustration isn't with Shedeur Sanders, it's with how long it took to get here. Cleveland spent weeks cycling through options that never fit, veteran stopgaps, developmental projects forced into roles they weren't ready for, decisions that felt more like avoidance than strategy. Time was wasted. Opportunities slipped. And now, with the season already taking its toll, the responsibility lands on a quarterback who should have been preparing for this role months ago. That's not on him, it's organizational failure. Evaluations that didn't match reality. Mixed messaging confusing fans and players alike. When you invest draft capital to move up and secure a quarterback, then bury him on the depth chart, the question isn't about the player, it's about the process. Cleveland's biggest problem isn't talent. It's belief. The roster doesn't move like it expects to win. The play calling doesn't sound like it trusts its personnel. Losing has become familiar, and familiarity breeds caution. That's why confidence stands out when it finally appears. Shedeur brings an edge the team hasn't seen in years, swagger without recklessness, confidence without arrogance, the expectation that winning is possible, not hypothetical. Media skepticism doesn't come from nowhere, it comes from years of false starts. But when skepticism turns to dismissal, that's when narratives lose credibility. Watch the tape. Ignoring it won't make the problems disappear.
People who sit there and watch these football games and think that he's God's gift is amazing to me, considering he himself has said how many things he's got to get over. And on the other side of it, the people who keep saying, well, he's a fifth-round pick, you shouldn't even be talking to him. What planet are we living on here? What planet are we living on that we just can't come to an agreement here that, yes, he's a very popular developmental quarterback and he may get the chance to start in 2026? Is that so effing hard for everybody to understand?
The empty seats tell their own story. Fans don't check out after one bad season, they check out when they feel misled. when hope is dangled and then snatched away. Waiting until the season is practically over to play a quarterback you've been sitting on doesn't inspire loyalty, it feels calculated. Fans see that. Weather isn't the issue. Location isn't the issue. Transparency is. If the organization truly believed Shedeur wasn't ready, they wouldn't have paid the price to acquire him. If someone else were clearly better, the pressure wouldn't be this intense. Actions reveal truth faster than statements ever will. Now, every decision, draft, coaching, play calling, carries weight. Cleveland can't afford another reset. Drafting another quarterback would signal panic, not progress. Stability starts with commitment. Building around a quarterback doesn't require perfection, it requires intention, a functional offensive line, receivers who finish routes, a running game that forces hesitation, and defensive pieces that create short fields. These aren't luxuries. They're necessities.
Text from a high-ranking AFC North executive on the Browns rookie, Shedeur Sanders. It's early, but wow, actually shocked how good he looks. Nike football, when you get your opportunity, create the next one. Only matter of time.
Yeah.
Ocho.
Yeah.
We could pick two plays, Ocho. Well, damn, he missed the Sam Strong safety blitz, where he had a guy ride over to the flat on 2nd and 18, and he skipped the ball to him. But
the upcoming draft isn't about replacing, it's about reinforcing. Investing in protection sends a message. Investing in skill players sends a message. Most importantly, naming a direction sends a message. Players respond to clarity. Fans respond to honesty. Coaching decisions will define the offseason. Accountability has to exist somewhere. Play calling, quarterback rotations, and draft missteps don't happen in isolation, they reflect philosophy. When philosophy fails repeatedly, leadership comes under scrutiny. Missed evaluations, poor development, or giving up responsibilities can't be erased by good intentions. Results matter. Direction matters more. Veteran contracts complicate things, but they don't excuse stagnation. Smart organizations plan around constraints, they don't let them stall progress. Having an expensive backup doesn't negate moving forward with the right starter. The conversation has shifted. It's no longer just about whether Shedeur belongs, it's about whether Cleveland is ready to commit. One puts pressure on the player. The other puts pressure on the organization.
I think he's put enough on film to show what he can do if he has an off season. Like what you're seeing right now, included in the tip passes or the fluke interceptions or the woulda, coulda, shoulda reads, and still with an exceptional completion record. This really is like week 4 for him. It may be week 16, 17 in the NFL, but it's week 4 for him. Just thinking he's been playing all along.
Mm-hmm.
They have a damn winning record to be headed to the playoffs.
Exactly.
The next steps will define Cleveland's trajectory. Either the franchise builds around what's already proven resilient under fire, or it repeats the cycle of hesitation that's kept it stuck. The league doesn't wait. Windows close fast. Confidence erodes even faster. What was said on that show wasn't explosive, but it was telling. When respected voices acknowledge complexity instead of dismissing performance, it signals change, not validation, but recognition. And recognition is the first step toward accountability. Shedeur Sanders has shown he can handle the weight. The question now is whether Cleveland can handle the responsibility of finally choosing a direction and standing on it. That responsibility doesn't end with naming him the starter. It extends into daily operations. Development is demonstrated through protection schemes, smart play design, and patience when mistakes happen. Right now, Cleveland is judged not by what it says, but by how it responds to adversity with a young quarterback under center. What's been missing for years is alignment. Front office decisions don't always match coaching priorities. Coaching priorities don't always match what shows up on Sundays. Players are left trying to bridge gaps they shouldn't have to manage.
So well in the San Francisco offense, you see him fit the ball into those small windows.
Yeah.
Did you see him on the move throw that touch pass? Now the receiver made a great one-handed catch, but did you see the touch?
Yes.
So take off. You go ahead.
Listen, I wanted to see what Shedeur would look like in a situation that wasn't advantageous to him. He didn't get any reps, as many reps as he should, to prepare himself, to be prepared for a game like this of this magnitude.
When a quarterback becomes the stabilizer for an unstable system, progress is harder to sustain. Yet even in that environment, growth shows, reads are quicker, pocket movement has improved, and decision-making under pressure hasn't collapsed. Mistakes exist, but they stem from timing, chemistry gaps, and protection breakdowns, correctable issues if structure exists. The real danger is mislabeling roster problems as quarterback limitations, which leads franchises to unnecessary resets. Fans notice. They see effort translating into competitiveness and leadership that persists after mistakes. That's why frustration is aimed upward, not under center. Media narratives will continue shifting, uncertainty invites speculation, agendas fill the void. Some hedge. Some provoke. Some protect relationships. Football eventually reduces narratives to outcomes. The upcoming offseason will reveal priorities. Early draft capital on offensive line helps signals belief. Surrounding Shedeur with reliable receivers and a respected running game signals commitment. Flirting with alternatives under the guise of competition signals fear.
And you're like, maybe he
Same
does.
guy that went Wildcat
because he's done this before, and he would outsmart the room. And there's a lot of reactions that would go on in that moment. Yeah, no, but I'm listening to Shedeur, and I'm like, geez. Oh, he's right. I mean, sometimes I'm racing to get to retirement for some unknown reason, and I'm racing to like have my kids get to be 18 and all this. Like, sometimes you just got to live in the moment and be present about it. And that's interesting. In a football context, he had me thinking even deeper than like just a big life-setting life moment. There's perspective he has that I feel like a lot of people don't at his age.
Fear has defined this franchise for too long: fear of the wrong choice, fear of committing, fear of backlash. But the league rewards decisiveness. Even mistakes made with conviction can be corrected faster than indecision ever will. The locker room notices. Players hear the noise, feel the hesitation. When leadership chooses a direction and enforces it, accountability spreads, standards rise, and preparation changes. Shedeur's presence has already forced opponents to adjust. Defensive schemes respect his arm, blitzes account for his awareness. Placeholders don't earn that attention, quarterbacks viewed as threats do. The longer Cleveland delays embracing that reality, the more momentum it risks losing. Development windows aren't infinite.